Quebec referendum on sovereignty happens. How do you want Anglophone Quebecers to vote? Do you want me, an Anglophone Quebecer, to vote yes with the separatists in order to get Quebec out of Canada? Or do you want Anglophones, me, to vote no and fight to keep Quebec within Canada? 1-877-399-9898. Before I get back to my guests and your calls, emails to roy@roygreenshow.com from Bob in BC. Roy, I would like English Quebec to vote yes and then leave to the rest of Canada when secession happens. And when separation happens, I'll lobby the federal government to cancel bilingualism in Canada, and I'll lobby the federal government to outlaw the practice of allowing dual citizenship. To live in Canada, you must choose which passport you have allegiance to and live with it or leave it. 1-877-399-9898 numbers. And before I get to the calls, and I will very quickly, I just want to give my guests, Brent Tyler and Jimmy Kalafatidis, they're both Anglophones in Quebec, staunch Canadians. You've heard me do the intros for them. Won't do it again right here, right now. A word, and I want to throw this one at you guys. If you happen to hear a majority, I don't know what you'll hear. If you hear a majority of our callers say they want Anglophone Quebecers to vote yes, will you be shocked? And then secondly, if the separatists, I won't call them sovereignists, if the separatists hear that a majority of Anglophones in Quebec would vote yes at the urging of the rest of the country, how much of a reality check would that be to sovereignists? That's the only time I'm going to use the word, when they know that the transfer check won't be coming in.
Well, Roy, first of all, Anglos in Quebec are not going to vote yes for strategic reasons the way you're asking listeners in the rest of Canada to give them advice as to how to vote. They're going to vote no. And so that's just a reality. There's no strategic considerations for them.
Okay, and I want you to give me quick answers here.
I want to say this because I've been on your show many times, and the sentiment I get from a lot of the callers is because they give $8 billion worth of equalization payments to Quebec, they're sick and tired of having to subsidize Quebec. My point to them would be, why should Jimmy and I have fewer rights as Canadians because we have a provincial government that's a financial basket case? They can't run an outhouse. Everybody agrees. But why should that affect our rights and our entitlement? So when people are saying we want to save the $8 billion...
Yeah, I got you.
I like to say something else.
Jimmy, go ahead.
Add something. I like to use the Puerto Rico model. They've had many. I think they have like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 referendums. One option we never have in Quebec, it's would you like to become an independent country, yes or no? And the third option would be, would you like Montreal to become a province, or at least the ridings that voted majority, no. That should be on the ballot as well. Because Montreal...
I don't disagree. I do not disagree with you. Jimmy, I don't disagree with you, but if it's a majority PQ government, you will not get that question.
People across Canada don't understand.
Well, let's take some calls and find out. Guys, we could talk the whole hour.
Okay.
But I want to hear what our callers have to say, and you can pitch in. That's why you're here. Morris in Calgary. Morris, go ahead.
Hello, Roy. How are you doing?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
Answer the question, please.
When you get into the booth, I want you to vote to separate.
Why?
Well, I feel that this is a marriage that's gone bad.
Yeah, but there are a lot of children who are innocent. There are a lot of innocent children.
Jimmy, hold on. Finish the thought, Morris.
The thing is, it is an unfair situation that we are put in right now. All that we do here in the West is pay for their, whatever you want to call it. Mm. They can come here to work. We cannot go there to work.
So clearly to you it's an us and them situation, and just to repeat, you want Anglophone Quebecers to vote yes.
I want to separate. Let's get
Morris, thank you for the call. Let's go to Ron. Get some calls here, and then we'll get Brent and Jimmy to respond. Ron in Alberta. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I'd like a corresponding vote. I'd like them to vote yes to separate, and I'd also like the 50 and under crowd in the rest of the country to vote to throw them out. And then I think the rest of the country would welcome any Anglophone Quebecers into most of the province, because it says with your rights, you don't have a right to live in the house you always lived in just because you lived there. And it's a big country. There's lots of space for everybody. That's like a cancer in this country. And I think...
Okay, Ron, I appreciate it. Well, Ron says vote yes as well. Bruce is in Delta, British Columbia. Bruce, how would you want Anglophones to vote if there were to be another sovereignty referendum in Quebec?
Well, Roy, I was born and raised in Montreal. Never thought I'd say it, but vote yes. For years, I was assuming that the various moves made by the separatists was just a feint to try and extract more concessions from the federal government. But I've come to the realization, I really believe that the Marois of this world have actually drunk the Kool-Aid, and they really, really believe that they can create a separatist, francophone workers' paradise in what they perceive as Quebec.
All right, Bruce, thank you for the call. Jimmy?
I'm going to have to make a comment here, Roy.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Roy, I want to tell the rest of the Canadians, what you are seeing is a picture of 30 to 40% of the rogue or extremist. That's what you're seeing in the media. But you're not seeing the 50 or 60% of the Canadians, the staunch Canadians who live in Quebec, that want to pay those equalization payments, that want to contribute to Canadian society. But we're being held hostage here. And we're the innocent children that are getting, and everyone's just saying, just leave. Help us spread the word across Canada, because it's Canadians who will decide the future of Canada, not those 30% Quebecers.
Mr. Tyler.
Well, I think Jimmy just took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, the idea that somehow, because we live here, and as one caller said, just because you live in a house doesn't mean you have a right to continue living in it. We're Canadian citizens. We have the rights that were given to us under our Constitution, and why should our rights be negotiable? Because we live on one side of the Ottawa River, and your listeners live on the other side.
Do you know what you're hearing? You're hearing absolute Quebec fatigue.
I understand.
That's what you're hearing. That's what you're hearing. If you contrast 2012 to 1995, think about that. Let me take some more calls. Victor in Winnipeg, how would you want us to vote, Victor?
I think that if there is any good sense in it, you should vote no. And let me just explain. I'm not good in machine gunning this stuff, but if you bear with me for 10 seconds, I will explain exactly why. Imagine Quebec as an independent country trying to put their balance sheet in front of Finch and Standard & Poor's and all the other rating agencies trying to finance their budgets. They will go from what Canada is today, an A+ or a AAA even, depending on what agency you're talking about. They will go quickly to a B-, probably a C+. Exactly. So what would that mean for Quebec with its own currency and things like that? It's undescribable. The loss of living standards, the interest rates spiking, it would be a disaster. In the same time, we have to be realistic and understand that Canada minus Quebec won't be able to maintain its AAA rating or whatever that is, depending on the agency, as I said. It would be bad for Canada as well. It would be bad for Quebec as well.
All right, now, Victor, I thank you for the call. I've allowed you to make your point and given you lots of time to do so. We have Antoinette calling in from Montreal. Antoinette.
Hello. Hi there.
Hi, go ahead. By the way, my producer is not asking anyone how you're going to answer that question, just so you know.
Well, I'm going to answer that question.
Go ahead, please.
My answer is going to be hell no. When my parents immigrated here, they immigrated to Canada, not Quebec. My passport still says Canada. And I'm asking and begging the rest of Canada, why would you abandon us? We're now standing up, or we're trying as best as we can. Please, don't let go of us. We're part of it. Quebec is part, and it's going to remain part. Don't let us go just like this.
Do you want to know one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why you're hearing the yes? One is Quebec fatigue, which I've already said. And secondly, the voices and the opinions and the thoughts and the passions of a Jimmy Kalafatidis, of a Brent Tyler, of an Antoinette and a Roy Green, not heard in the rest of the country often enough.
Right,
and it's because Anglophone Quebecers, come on, Brent, have for some time now behaved like well-trained house pets. Not you, but far too many.
But we're standing up now. We really are. And it's like if Canadians feel anything for us because I am Canadian. Why would they let go of us? Why would they let us down now?
There, you know what? Thank you, Antoinette. I appreciate your call as well. What many will say is, vote yes, and you heard it. Vote yes, and then move somewhere else in Canada. Anyway.
But Roy, they're in a marriage. They're innocent children.
I understand.
Do you know that Canadian soldiers get spit on in Quebec? Did you know that teenagers get beaten up for speaking English in Quebec? Did you know these things? Do you know that people are getting assaulted in English hospitals for ordering their sandwiches in English?
Those are individual cases, and I know about them, yes.
These are individual cases. No, there are more than individual cases. This is the day in the life of living in Montreal. Not everybody can leave. If you're over 60 and you're just going to get your pension, you're not about to leave.
Guys, first of all, look at I'm not your enemy. Jimmy, Brent, I'm not your enemy.
I agree.
I'm just dealing with the issue.
No, I understand completely. I just want to tell the rest of Canada, please, we're begging you, help Brent. Donate to Brent for freedom of expression. Donate to the cause to get Montreal and Quebec back on its feet. And you know what? Let's take down this government and any other government that is against civil rights, and let's get Canada back on track.
Mr. Tyler, Brent, you have made that plea, and you made that plea before the Quebec election on this program. And the plea was, don't forget about us.
That's right.
Don't forget about us. Do you really think it's resonating in the rest of the country?
Well, Roy, your show is going to help. I mean, a lot of people listen to your show. This discussion that you've.
I hope this helps. I hope this question helps.
Well, I think inevitably it will. And when people hear someone like Antoinette pleading for her country and herself in her country, if that's it's sincere. And if this day when the perception was that we're not standing up here in English Quebec, and why should the rest of the country pay any attention at all if we don't care to fight for our own struggle? Well, we are, Roy. We are, and just watch us.
Okay, let me take another break, and we'll come back with Brent Tyler, Montreal lawyer, media commentator, Jimmy Calafatidis, spokesman for PutBackTheFlag.com, chairman of the Unity Group, Quebec Civil Rights Group, filmmaker of the documentary Angry Phone. Angry Phone 2 is yet to come. By the way, an Anglophone civil rights are violated on a daily basis in the province of Quebec, every single day, and by provincial legislation. I just think it's a question that needs to be put to the rest of the country if there is another referendum on sovereignty, and I believe it's going to happen. I believe 2015. My guests disagree with me. Fair enough. But how do you want Anglophone Quebecers to vote in that referendum? Do you want Anglophone Quebecers to vote with the separatists and get Quebec out of Canada? Or do you want Anglophone Quebecers to vote no and help to keep Quebec within Canada? And then, of course, that means that you would have to respond to what Brent and Jimmy and Antoinette have been saying, and I'm saying it too. Think about us Anglophones who happen to live in the province of Quebec. What do we mean to you? We'll come back. Emails to roy@roygreenshow.com. Follow me on Twitter @The Roy Green Show. The Parti Québécois this week introduced additional, they call it protection of the French language legislation. Many in the Anglophone community look at it as simply anti-Anglophone legislation. More of the same, more difficult for students to graduate from high school. They have to have mastery of French in order to do so. And the question that I'm asking you across this country, we don't have radio stations in Quebec, but we do from Ontario through British Columbia. I'm asking you, when the next Quebec referendum on sovereignty comes, how do you want me, how do you want Anglophone Quebecers to vote? Do you want us to vote no and fight to keep Quebec within Canada, or do you want us to vote yes and agree to get Quebec out of Canada, agree with the separatists? So far, a majority of our callers have said yes, but my guests, Brent Tyler and Jimmy Calafatidis in Montreal, are aghast at what they're hearing. They're aghast at what they're hearing.
I'd just like to point this out to the rest of Canada. Our municipal government, our provincial government, and our federal government have completely abandoned us.
Yes.
We are hostages here. Do people understand the rest of Canada? Canadians in Quebec are hostages. The media in Quebec is not pro-Canadian, it's pro-nationalist. We need the rest of Canada's help, either on Facebook, on putbacktheflag.com. Help us out, help us get the message out, or in donations to Brent, or just your support at the voting booth. Tell Mr. Harper, please help the Canadians in Quebec.
No reaction, huh? No anger from the federal government over the Parti Québécois language legislation this week, huh? They were stunning in their silence and absence of opinion.
Well, by the way,
that's standard, Roy. I mean,
Well, I know
the
it's
federal government,
standard.
whether it's liberal or conservative, they
Chrétien sold us down the river in 1995, just days before the vote.
Well, he wasn't prepared for it. He didn't.
Oh, come on, Brent.
He didn't make the right arguments, in our opinion.
No, he said 50% plus one would carry the day. You got the Prime Minister saying that when Lucien Bouchard is eating him alive. It was Jean Charest sitting at his little desk all by himself who put up the best fight as far as the politicians are concerned.
The federal government was asleep on the job. I don't think Harper will be quite the same this time.
I don't think so either. But we need to hear from him.
Much more principled.
Let me get Alexander in Vancouver on the line. He's been waiting a long time. Alexander, go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon, or good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome. 2 points here, and I'll make them quite quickly. One is, no, please stay in Canada, please, okay? Second, so you're going to vote no on the referendum. Secondly, $8 billion. Where is it going to come from? Once it doesn't come from the federal government anymore, where the heck is it going to come from? Where are you going to get it? And third thing is where's your currency going to come from? Like your previous caller said from Winnipeg. Go ahead, separate, sure. But we're going to cut off your money, and where's your money going to come from? And what kind of currency are you going to have? And what's the rating on your currency going to be? And and one more point. We're helping you a lot. What are you doing to help the rest of Canada? You got lots of resources over there. How come we have to transfer $8 billion to you?
Now you're talking when you say that you're talking to the Quebec government.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Hey man, we're transferring $8 billion to you.
Okay. Got it, Alexander. Thank you, guys. I have about 45 seconds here, and I'm going to turn them over to Brent and Jimmy.
Jimmy, go for it.
Well, putbacktheflag.com. Come join us, the rest of Canada. See what it's about. See what the reverse propaganda that we're trying to do. Just check us out. Join us in the fight. Donate to Brent Tyler and all his 80 court cases for freedom of expression, freedom on signs, freedom in commerce, freedom of choice in education, and don't give up on us, the rest of Canada.
Okay, guys, how many Anglophones in Quebec? Real quick, how many?
About 1 million, I guess.
They better be heard from.
But you know what? There are French Canadians. I would say half the population are Canadian loyalists.
Yeah. Thank you, Brent, Jimmy. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having us, Roy.
We'll do this again.
Yes, I hope so.
Roy Green Show on the Chorus Radio Network. In a minute, we'll come back and tell you about the next hour. Stay with us.